Well, hello everyone. Hi, this is Lance Edwards, and
This is Randy Lubke. How are you, Lance?
I am great. And everyone, this is we're going to get started here momentarily, but we want to come on and welcome everyone to today's webinar. It's an inaugural event. We'll share that with you in a moment. But while we're doing that, we got a big crowd for today. And while we're doing that, I want to ask for your help. I need some help. If you would, verify for me the technology is cooperating. If you would, send us a chat, go in the chat box and send us a message. Do two things. Number one, can you hear me, hear us? And number two, you should be seeing a slide that says how to access and utilize the COVID cash stimulus funds and our names. And also type in where you're viewing from today. Have some fun acknowledging you, recognizing you for being here today while people are coming on. Let's see. I can bring these up. Let's see. Coming in, we've got here's Tracy from Cali. Here's Jack from Texas. Here's Jeffrey from Las Vegas. Margie from Taylorsville, North Carolina. Nancy from Vienna, Virginia. Rod from New Mexico. Connell from Atlanta. Neil. Now this says Neil Armstrong. I know it's not the Neil Armstrong, but this Neil's from Charlotte. Emilia says, yes, I can hear you from New Jersey. Here's Steve in St. Augustine. Chuck's in Maryland. Gerald's in Arizona. Jeffrey's in Tahoe. Berkeley, California. Plano, Texas. Rosa, Maryland. Oh, wow. Knoxville, Tennessee. Barcelona, Spain. Sean. Now, Sean, are you really from Barcelona, Spain?
Wow.
Wow. It is. That's a beautiful city. My wife and I were there in September. Welcome, Sean, from Barcelona. There you go, Randy, from Barcelona, Spain.
That's impressive. We're international today.
We're international. Gotta love it. It's the whole virtual world. Here's Rick in Houston. Hey, Rick. I know Rick in Houston. Let's see. Philip in Michigan. Sherry in rural Nevada, not just regular Nevada, but rural Nevada. Let's see.
That's all in Nevada.
That's all in Nevada. You said it. You said it, not me. Here's Dave and Braden. Braden's in Florida. Dave, you were just up the road from me. I'm just about 45 minutes south of you. Let's see. Dallas, Texas, California. There's out there with Randy and our guest. Chicago. Let's see. Texas, Northern California. Let's see. I'm just trying to find. Got a lot of Texas, Mexico, North Buffalo. All right. Well, it is clear. It is clear that the technology is working, and we've got a lot to talk about today, Randy. So I'm going to go ahead and get us kicked off. Does it sound good to you?
I'm ready, Lance. Let's roll. Let it roll.
All right. All right, well, I'm going to welcome everyone. This is Lance Edwards with my co-host, Randy Lubke, and the topic is how to access and utilize the COVID cash stimulus funds. It's what I call it, the COVID cash. But really, I want to also share with you, this is Randy and I's first live production of our new podcast called Financial Independence, A Better Perspective. And you're going to be seeing regular weekly broadcasts from us in podcast format, webinar format. This happens to be a webinar format. That'll be relevant to, I believe, everything you're looking for, because I'm confident everybody on this call is interested in financial independence. And if you're, dying to know what we look like, of course, there's videos of us you can see now. But when I have had a haircut, I do look like that. And Randy on the other side. But
yeah, my barber. Yeah, what can I say? I'm going to get a ponytail pretty soon here. It's growing.
I tell you, Randy, if I could buy haircut barbershop stock, now be the time to be buying it, because there's going to be a boom on barber business when they tell everybody that they let us out.
Yeah.
But for you, those who maybe were invited from my list, Randy Lubke is independent registered financial advisor, and he's the best I've seen. And I'm very proud to be working with him on all the strategies you can be learning through Randy. And you can learn more about him. He's got a free training. You can avail yourself at his website, lifetimeparadigm.com, lifetimeparadigm.com. And for those who maybe come from Randy's world, my name is Lance Edwards. I'm the real estate guy. I invest in apartments, and lanceedwards.com. We can ask about me. But you guys are not here to talk to us so much today. You're here to talk about this COVID cash and how to get access to it and how to use it. So, I got a gift. Hold on. I got a gift. for showing up today on our.
Let's not forget Naomi.
Well, yeah, we're going to get to Naomi here in a minute, but to show up today, type this down, playbigger.info, playbigger.info. This is a course, I sell this course. I've been giving this away during the COVID crisis. It has to do with your mindset, your head game. So write that down. Go get that course free after the interview, playbigger.info. Now let's get back to our guest expert. Miss Naomi Panino, and Naomi can tell me if I'm pronouncing that correct or not, but
you are.
Naomi, I am. Well, how about that? Welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Financial Independence, A Better Perspective.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I hope I can address some of these questions that, are on everybody's minds, and maybe some will learn a little bit more today as well.
Well, I am confident you are. Matter of fact, the format, everyone, Randy and I are going to submit questions to Naomi, but also you're going to submit questions to Naomi. So here's the way that's going to work. At any point, including now and any time to the end, you can type in a question to the chat box, the same way you were communicating a moment ago. Submit questions, and Randy and I will be relaying them to Naomi. Okay, so Naomi, to begin with, I got to imagine you're the most expert person there is on Naomi Panino. So if you wouldn't mind, give everyone your background and your subject expertise.
Happy to help. I feel like I'm one of those factories that had to retool to apply my talent and my experience to today's situation. Before the COVID incident had happened, I've always been, for 8.5 years, I've been involved in helping all kinds of business owners and people that want to become business owners get funding. Most of it has been through the SBA. So primarily, what I've been doing is getting working capital, startup funds for new businesses, expansion capital, all through mostly the SBA. And what I do is I pre-qualify people and let them know about how much loan they're going to get, or if they're not qualified for the loan amount that they want, take it from there, proceed with writing their business plan for them and introducing them to lenders at that point, and then going through the underwriting process with them. So it's a very hand-holding process. What happened since the coronavirus was I started getting a lot of questions on, okay, what do I do now? What do I do now? Certainly had nothing to do with the loans that we were used to giving, and on several layers. One is you don't have to qualify the way you did before for these loans. And probably the most important thing that I want to say today is that the details are still evolving. We don't have all the answers, and we know that things can change. We've seen interest rates change from 4% to 0.5% to 1% for the same program. We've seen just so many changes on what's applicable and what isn't. So my disclaimer at the beginning is, as of right now, this is what I know. This is Naomi Panino knowledge, and it's based on talking to the SBA, doing research, and getting as many answers as I can for my clients, which I'm happy to do, and happy to do for those attending as well.
All right. Well, thank you. And it is dynamic. And so I'm going to throw a question out just to get us started here, Naomi, is that to get to level set us, to get us all on the same page. When we talk about what I call COVID cash or the SBA programs or the CARES Act, can you just paint can you just identify what are the different programs that we're talking about that have come out as a result of COVID?
There are two main programs. I'm going to call the first one the EIDL, and it stands for Economic Injury Disaster Loan. That is going to be based primarily on providing you with 6 months of working capital to keep your business afloat. And these are short answers for you, but we'll delve into them. The other one is, and that's SBA direct, no lender will be involved in that. On the other hand, there's the Payment Paycheck Protection Program, which you must go through a lender. Not all lenders are providing access, but more and more are. This is going to be a loan based on a calculation of payroll. Not that it can't be used for other things. It can be used for other things, but the purpose of this Paycheck Protection Payroll is to keep people either employed with you or rehire back the ones you had to let go. That's just a snippet of what that is. In addition to those two loans that are most popular right now, there is a debt relief program, and that is an automatic program for people that currently have SBA 7A loans and 504s. So the people that you're dealing with, some of them may have 504 loans. That's the loan the SBA provides to purchase land and build buildings. 7A can do that as well. And if you've had a loan that is an SBA 7A 504, even a micro loan, the government, the Treasury, is going to be paying 6 months worth of principal and interest.
Wow.
Done deal. Okay. And they'll also be doing it for new loans. The other possible loan would be an express bridge loan, which again has come out of the COVID experience. That is going to be an express loan. It's an SBA express loan. The caveat is that you have had to have been doing business with the specific SBA express lender in order to apply for this. But the interest rates are going to be very high. It's just really a bridge loan. So there's no forgivable part, and it's going to be a bit expensive, and you would have had to have been engaged with an SBA express lender to be able to apply for this. Those are the overviews. There's 4 things.
Those are big.
I've got one question, and Randy, I'm gonna hand it over to you because I know you got a list. On that last one, the SBA Express loan, you have to been doing business with an SBA lender to get this bridge financing. So I bank with Wells Fargo. Now, I haven't done any SBA loans with Wells Fargo, but the fact that I'm a Wells Fargo client, does that qualify me to do an SBA Express loan with Wells Fargo?
You have to have been engaged with them as an express lender. So I'm not sure if it means that you've had to have had an express loan with them, but at minimum, I believe you just have to have some kind of the business has to have had a relationship with the bank. And I want to rewind just a second. Everything we're talking about, you have to put yourself in the position of the business. The business is answering these questions. So when you fill out any of these applications, it's not an individual. These are businesses applying on each one of these programs.
Got it. Randy, I'm going to let you chime in here.
Yeah, so I like to put this conversation in some context. Again, the whole idea of this particular podcast is it's Lance and I talking, bringing in experts like Naomi to share ideas and thoughts and strategies with quite an array of different people that are listening in. We're going to have people on this call that are just individuals. They're employees, perhaps, of a company. Maybe they're the waiter, the waitress, or the barber, right? That can't cut hair. A lot of them, probably even a larger majority, are going to be business owners, and they're going to be very interested in all the things that Naomi's going to talk about today. But then there's also a large group of people on a call today that are going to be landlords, right? And note holders as well, right? People that have loaned money to others. So in the context of our call today, I want to make sure we do our best to try and cover all this. And Lance, if we run out of time, which is really possible, we could always extend this over to make sure we do address our audience and all those different areas. And before I give it back to you, I want to put one more piece of context in this, because a lot of folks are just asking, why this bill came about so fast and why is it so big? We know it's several $1 trillion. I still, by the way, I don't know what $1 trillion is. The first time they started talking about $1 trillion was back in 2008, right? When when we went through the whole financial collapse. And before that, you know, billions were like the big number. And now we got trillions, and we have multiple trillions. And this bill is several $1 trillion in size today, and they haven't even given out the money, and they're already talking about giving out more, right? So you know where that's all going. But the reason that Washington got off their duff and did something so quickly about this, and this is statistics I got from the SBA just yesterday. Interesting stuff. According to SBA, small businesses, by the way, they count them any business under 500 employees. So most of the businesses we're talking about are much smaller than that, micro businesses they call those. But those companies with 500 or less employees, get this, represent 99.7% of all businesses in the United States, nearly 100%, right, of all businesses in the United States, and they employ 47.5% of the employees, right? So we're talking a consumer economy that just had the gut punch put into it with this coronavirus, and we're continuing to get punched, right? And so Congress, instead of doing their normal, we'll do a top-down thing and give it to the big guys because they know what to do with our money, finally came to their senses. You know what, we need to give money to the people, because the people are the ones that are going to spend it, and because they're going to spend it, then the big companies like Procter & Gamble and Johnson & Johnson can continue to to do their thing. But if you don't give money into the hands of the people right away, none of this is going to happen. And that's how this whole thing came about, right? So with that being said, I think that's good context. So we're talking about money to individuals, we're talking about money to businesses, we're talking about money to landlords, and we want to talk about all these different things in the context of our conversation today. Is that helpful?
That's very good. You're right. We're the job makers. Small business folks.
47%. I was so surprised.
I had no idea. I had no idea. So Naomi, I'm going to feed you some questions. I got a list here. I can see some of the questions I have are coming in now. First of all, there's a lot of questions coming in. What is it about this emergency advance up to $10,000 or the $10,000 grant? Can you talk to that? Let's start there.
Sure. That is under the Economic Injury Disaster Loan side program. This will be something you have to apply for on the SBA.gov website. They have ability to have an immediate advance on the Streamline application. If you put in your account number of your checking account and your routing number, they can advance you up to $10,000 that you do not need to pay back. Whether or not you're approved for the EIDL loan or whether or not you even accept it. I understand that it is based on somewhat on head count. So we were actually just finding out these things yesterday. We didn't know what that formula was going to be for the 10,000. So you might get 1,000, you might get 500, and again, it's until the funds are gone. I have no idea if they're gone or not, but a lot of it's going to depend upon the head count that you have.
Sounds like an ATM machine. Let's see, I push these buttons on this web screen and boom, money pops out.
Yeah.
Whether I'm approved or not. Free money.
Yeah. Free money. Grants.
So let's talk. There's a grant. So for that free money, let's give, to go to Randy's point. Let's say, of course, if you own a small business, that would qualify. A mom and pop landlord who own a duplex, can they apply?
They can. Here is this just came out yesterday, because this is one of the few things we were up in the air on. We needed guidance. Got lucky. Yesterday this came through, according to the SBA. Landlords who are losing rental income can apply, and that would apply for the scenario you just spoke of. They do not need to submit an EIN number. And this is separate from contractors, general contractors who are building real estate. These are apartment owners, landlords that are losing lost revenue.
Are they applying under the EIDL program or the PPP? Which one?
The one that I got information on was that it was on the EIDL, and I believe that if it's on the EIDL, I can't imagine it not being available on the PPP.
So let's be clear. So a mom and pop landlord has a duplex, they're losing money, they can apply at least for the $10,000 grant or some portion of it. There's some formula that determines how much the machine's going to spit out to you.
Yes.
How about, okay, you mentioned independent contractors, somebody who's self-employed, independent contractor. Can they qualify as well?
Yes. As of April 10th, independent contractors, sole proprietors, they can apply for the PPP. Again, PPP is based on payroll. Independent contractors, that if you applied before, you're going to have to reapply again on April 10th for the paycheck.
So
okay,
I may end up having multiple applications in, right? I may end up having an application in for my S corporation business, and then if I own rental properties that I'm a landlord and filing on a Schedule E, I may have to put an application in for that. And if I have multiple entities, I could put in applications for. I would have to put applications in for each entity. Is that correct?
Yes, for the most part. I mean, you don't have to, but you can have an application per EIN, per entity.
Yeah, EIN being a tax ID number.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's good because it's by business and not by individual, like you said. So that's a good point. You have multiple applications, but presumably multiple payouts for different businesses. I got one more question, qualifying question. So there's very well going to be people that are listening right now, Naomi, that they are an entrepreneur. They've been spending money as an entrepreneur, but they haven't yet made any profit. Can they apply for any of these funds?
They can apply. If they can apply for the payment protection program based on their salaries that they've been giving out, any payroll. But they have an 8-week evaluation time that they can provide proof that they've got at least that they've paid 75% of that payroll over that 8-week period following the date that they get that loan. So it may not be forgiven, it may be forgiven. They can also use things like utilities, rent, interest. Those will also apply, but not more than 25%. So yes, they can apply. They can apply to the Paycheck Protection Program, but if they don't have any employees, then there's no need to do that. On the EIDL side, which is really covering your expenses, your ongoing expenses of your company, you do have to provide proof that you can service this debt. And on the Payment Protection Program as well. They're not going to give loans to people that haven't made money, that have no way of showing that they're going to make money. So if you can prove that before this COVID event occurred, that you weren't making money, but you were on track to be able to cover your expenses, then you can apply, but it's going to be that you have to show proof of that. I don't know what it would be. It might be contracts, maybe contracts that you had coming up to provide proof that you would have been able to sustain your business. But if you don't have the ability to provide that, I don't believe there's anything that you can do right now other than the payroll protection program. And at that, you do have to be able to say you can service the debt. I know that one of the things on the new offering that might be going out is they want to target brand new businesses. So that's obviously a gap that we had in the present PPP and EIDL programs. So the next round is going to concentrate on two things that I know of as of today. One is to make sure that these brand new businesses who had very little time to ramp up and got hit with this are going to be taken care of in some fashion. And the other thing is to provide more local banks, community banks, things like that, to provide these SBA relief funds.
Okay, so
All right.
I'm gonna just to drill down on this hypothetically. So I have a sole proprietor. The sole proprietor doesn't have any payroll per se. They just have, you know, that person and maybe their spouse. What do they apply for? EIDL and PPP, or just PPP? How's that work? Sole proprietor only.
Sole proprietor only can apply for both. They can apply for the economic injury disaster loan right now, and it's going to be based on the revenue from this past year. They can apply for the paycheck protection program on April 10th, Friday. And here they can take, if they're a sole proprietor or a 1099, they in trying to determine the calculation, they have to figure out how much. And it's not them as a couple, it's the company. Remember, it's the company, the sole proprietor or whatever. So how much that company distributed to them as payroll. And that's the calculation that they're going to use as sole proprietors or 1099s. And they will absolutely have to show either 1099 substantiation, or, you know, if it was something you took a draw from the bank, you're going to have to go back and get bank statements on that.
So now take it to the next level. I'm a S corporation and I do have payroll. So I do have a W-2 that I pay myself, but I also receive a majority of my income as a K-1 distribution, right? A distribution of profits. Now, how does that work into the PPP?
Such a great question. That was up in the air until yesterday. Until this morning, I just heard, and I haven't substantiated it, but I heard that you will be able to use those, the draws on your K-1, and some people have actually gone ahead and subscribed, and their application is in, and they're getting ready to have this immediate, you know, influx into their bank account, but they didn't know that they could include that. So the best advice the SBA is giving right now is to call your bank immediately, because after the bank says you're approved, it's going to go into your checking account, it could be really, really fast, and you want to grab them before they do that. Things that we're just finding out now, I'm not sure how they're going to handle it, because as things change and you've already applied for one version of what you thought was real, and then now you find out that the majority, you find out that the majority of your income is on off of your K-1, you got to go back and get that.
Okay. So another question in terms of the debt forgiveness piece of it. So I don't have any employees in my business, but I have, you know, quasi-employees who the 1099s, that the contractors I work with, that I pay expenses to. So do those payments that I make to those independent contractors count toward my debt forgiveness part of the PPP?
You cannot use 1099s on the PPP. Can't use that. You can use commissions, payroll costs, including benefits, interest, well, those kinds of things. The reason for that is that the 1099 folks are going to be able to apply on their own. So if you are a corporation that does a lot of your work as 1099s, your 1099 people are going to go out and be able to apply on their own and get their own funds.
Understood, but I'm still going to have to pay these 1099 people today and tomorrow. You know, I have to pay them, and again, they're not being paid payroll; they're being paid as a independent contractor. And you're just saying that, at least as of today, if I make those payments, those expenses, I can get the money for the EIDL, but it may not be forgiven or won't be forgiven because it's not considered part of payroll.
You can get it both ways. You can get it on the EIDL, and you know it won't be forgiven. But on the PPP, it will not be forgiven. You'll have a very low loan. You know, you'll have a loan that is quite low, 1% over 2 years. And I also understand that the lenders just don't have the time to substantiate, how you calculated your original calculation. I think they're going to have time to go through it to see what is forgivable. But right now, they need to get these loans out. So some banks are scrutinizing, others are saying good faith, testify here, this is, the truth.
Okay. So I guess, worst case, you get a loan from the PPP that's at a very low interest rate. Best case, you could have a portion of that or all of it forgiven if you qualify.
Right. And some people are not going to want to have that loan. So best that when they are contacted by their lending officer, which they should be, to ask that question. These 1099 people, are they consistently 1099? Are they, how does that work? And ask your loan officer so that you are forgiven, whatever you have. And on the EIDL side, certainly it's going to cover your overhead. So it's a working capital loan.
Yeah, in my case, but not forgiven. My bank doesn't even answer their phone calls right now. So
yeah, okay, good luck. That's yeah. So let me ask that question, because that's I'm trying to imagine. I heard the president say last night that PPP had now released $80 billion, about 25% of the 350 that have been set aside. He's going to ask for another $250 billion from Congress. And he gave out some number of how many loan applications have been submitted. I mean, it was
big,
10, 100, big. How in the, and so how in the world is this being processed? Because what's interesting, last week, to read the news, they almost made you believe like, okay, you submit this 2-page questionnaire on Friday, April 3rd, and voila, within the same day, $100,000 pops into your checking account, And of course, that would just be massive fraud. Can you imagine? So how do you have the insight? How is this being processed?
You're not asking me, are you?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, you're closer than any of us are, because all I get is an email from my bank says, stand by.
Yeah.
Yes, stand by. Wells Fargo has its own bag that it had to comply with, and they're kind of different than everybody else. I guess a bank can say, no, we're done. We're at capacity. That's the SBA has a list. If you go to SBA.gov, you can find a lender available list. Not all of them are available for the PPP, but at least you've got a list to start with. Those are approved lenders that the SBA deals with. On top of it, there are some banks on a local basis that your SBA provider, your SBA representative will be able to tell you about, because they're getting information all the time on which banks are telling them, hey, we're here, and it's the smaller banks actually that are easier to deal with in getting these through than the big ones.
So I don't have to deal with my bank, I can deal with any bank?
You can. They prefer that you go to the bank that you've been doing business with first, because that helps the load, across the board. But if they can't, then yes, you can go to any of these other lenders that are accepting people that have never done business with them.
Yeah, I wonder how many people have submitted across 10 different SBA lenders the same application, just to see who comes back first.
That would not be good. That would be bad.
Yeah.
You have to actually state that you have not done that. You have to certify that you have not done that.
That's true. Well, I'm sure everybody did that. So, have you heard any case studies? Has anyone actually received funds? Has anyone gotten funded off the PPP or the EIDL?
Yes, they have both. And some people have actually received the advance that is off of the EIDL that you don't have to pay back.
Okay, well, that's good. All right, well, there's money moving.
Yes.
Now, one of the things, as I recall on the PPP, is that you said it, Naomi. You've got you received the PPP money. This is the payroll money, and you have to use it during 8 weeks to maintain your staff, keep them paid, and then that after 8 weeks, whatever you don't spend for that and the other items, which includes rent and interest, as I recall, whatever's left is now a loan for 2 years. Am I right so far?
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's correct.
And that 8 weeks is also cuts off on June 30th, the way the law is written. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, for everyone's benefit, I think you've said it now. Summarize the terms of the loans on the EIDL. What are the loan terms there, and on the PPP, what are the loan terms there?
Okay, on the EIDL, you can have up to $2 million maximum loan. It is not forgivable. It's based primarily on income and cost of goods, expenses, things like that. The interest rate is going to be for profit companies 3.75 interest rate, and which is still low. And depending upon what the SBA officer determines, we don't know what the algorithms are or his calculations at this point, but it can be a loan up to 30 years. As it was expressed to me, that let's say you can only afford $100 a month. Well, they're going to take it to the point at which that loan would provide $100 a month payment. If you can afford $300 a month, they might make it a shorter term. And if you have, to answer some basics on it, again, it's based on 12 months, not forgivable. If collateral has been a big question on this one. Do I have to provide collateral? If you have it, they'll file, place a UCC lien on the business assets, not on your personal. And that's if you have a loan over $25,000. If you have a loan over $200,000, all owners that own 20% or more are going to need to have a personal guarantee on that loan, but it does not mean that they will be using personal real estate. It's a personal guarantee. Okay. Again, it's cannot have more than 500 employees. I understand that gig people are eligible. There used to be a provision that said if you had the ability for credit elsewhere, they would not give you this loan. That's been waived. And you can reapply, let's say at the end of the loan, they're saying you can reapply for up to 2 years after the end of your EIDL loan. So you can reapply. However you record your business expenses and salary, those will need to be substantiated. On the PPP side, it's a $10 million limit. You can apply now through June 30th, so there's a cutoff. Any balance of your loan that was not forgiven will be at 1% for 2 years. Both of them have no prepay penalties, so that if you do come up with a lot of cash, you want to pay it off, you can. There's no penalty. On the PPP side, absolutely no collateral, no personal guarantee, but it's first come, first serve. When the funds are out, it's done. The payments are going to be deferred on the PPP side for 6 months, and on the 7th month, you'll begin making payments. Whereas on the EIDL side, you'll have 11 months deferment, and then you'll start making payments at the 12th month. The payroll costs in your calculations are going to be over a 12-month period, and you'll take that calculated payroll amount, divide it by 12, and then multiply it by 2.5. That's going to be your loan amount. So you want to make sure you're including all the payroll that is eligible. right now we know it's payroll costs, including benefits, it's interest, it's salaries, commissions, wages, up to 100,000 cash, state and local taxes. What is not included are 1099s, because they can get these loans on their own, and up to $100,000 cash received limit. So anything over $100,000 won't count in the calculation, but under 100,000 it will. And then any employer paid federal taxes will not count. All right. Again, the forgiveness over the 8-week period of time, in order to get 100% forgiveness, you would need to have proven that you paid 75% of those funds in payroll. And you can use the other 25% and prove that you paid interest, rent, utilities. If you don't come up to that amount, let's say that's 75%, if you have a decrease in headcount, if you have a decrease in salaries, in other words, you decrease them by more than 25%, there are going to be some loss of forgiveness on that. And they have different, they show you on the SBA.gov website exactly, what that would be. Let's see.
Well, while you're thinking, Naomi, let me just add I
Yep.
want to add a couple comments, and I'm going to ask you a question too. So on the debt forgiveness side, what I understand is, unlike previous situations where you had debt forgiven debt becomes a taxable event, meaning the amount of money you don't have to repay somebody gets included in your income tax. My understanding is on the PPP, if for that part of it that's forgiven, you won't be taxed on it. It's just going to be free money, totally free, tax-free money. You still will get to deduct the expense of paying the payroll though. So it's almost like a double benefit. You don't not only get the money, you get to expense it off your taxes for paying the payroll, but you don't have to include it as income that the money's forgiven. Is that your understanding as well?
You know what? I'm not knowledgeable in that because that's getting more into an accounting
the tax part of it.
Type
Yeah,
of thing, and tax part of it. So I don't really know.
And that'll probably be subject to change too. So here's my question, though. I've had a couple business owners ask me about. So I look at the formula to calculate the loan size, and they're going to look back 12 months. But I'm in one of these businesses that had to hire more people because they just have maybe those businesses that are hiring right now. They need people, right? And so when they do the formula, their payroll's higher now than it was if you looked 12 months ago. And if I can understand the logic, there won't be any accommodation for that, because what the loans are trying to do is keep people on that had jobs and now would otherwise be laid off. The reason these folks are hiring people is because they need jobs and they have the income to pay for them. Is that a good logic to follow? Does that make sense?
That absolutely makes sense to me. And like you just said, who knows what's going to change, but that does seem to be the logic behind it, because the PPP, they just want to keep people employed that were employed before this all hit.
To keep them going. Yeah.
And then you're going to have another round, which you could probably go back and now, if that comes through, now maybe you can up it by the number of employees that were added. Maybe that 12-month period is going to creep into those months that you had additional employees. We don't know.
Yeah.
It'd be great if it did.
Hey, Lance, can I interject a little success story? Well, I told you I had a couple of these. I wanted to.
Well, hold on. Yeah, before you do that, I want to give Naomi an opportunity, because we've got about 15 minutes left here. Naomi, how can you help people in this process? We've got your contact information on the screen. How can you help them through this process? Let them know how they can benefit by working with you.
Well, up on the screen, I think you've got my email, naomi@fundingsense.expert. Remember, .expert, not .com. Which I guess certifiably now I am an expert, because that's what it says. And my phone number is in California, so it's Pacific time, 818-962-8809. If you go to our website, www.fundingsense.com, you'll see all of the things that, we're covering. As far as helping people answer questions, I'm available for them to call me or email me, and I'll see what I can do. If I can answer questions, quickly, that's what I hope to do. They also may be able to retain me if it's going to take a longer period of time or more in-depth discussion, and we'll talk about it one-on-one. Happy to help.
All right, very good. So now, Randy, you've heard some success stories. I want to hear some success stories.
I know, I really wanted to get this on the call. I can't believe we went through 45 minutes already. It's crazy. But I wanted to get this on the call today because, as you know, I'm a financial consultant. I work mainly with business owners and real estate investors. That's my primary folks that I work with. And, if you turn on the television, of course, we see, hour after hour, day after day of people, very bleak situations, going through some very terrible things. And those are real. And I don't mean to diminish those folks at all, but it's desperate, and the media just thrives on that crap, right? So what I'm seeing is a lot of entrepreneurs. What I love about entrepreneurs, we are so creative and so agile and able to adapt our businesses. And specifically, as I have one client he owns a printing company in the Midwest, and I won't go any more detail just because I don't want people to figure out who they are, but he owns a printing company in the Midwest, and he specializes in doing highly technical printing. And so just to give you an example, if you go into a department store and you go to the makeup counter and you see all those like 3,000 shades of lipstick, well, those colors have to be absolutely perfect to match the lipstick because that's what the consumer's buying. It takes a very special kind of printer to make those things. We don't, think about it, but it's a very technical deal, and this is the kind of printing that he did. He also did printing for a lot of the major airlines, so that when you go through the airport, you see all these signs down the hallways of people in their comfortable seats that you never get to sit in, drinking drinks that they never serve you, and all these good things that the airlines promote. So I'm thinking, this poor guy, this printing company, that all the retail stores are shut down. There's no makeup company is going to be buying printing from him. The airlines are down by 80%. They're certainly not going to buy stuff. So I get an email from him 2 days ago after I invited him to join us for this call. And he goes, you know what we did? 2 weeks ago, we started retooling our shop. We stopped printing the stuff we were printing. We're now making face masks for first responders. And he's got 100% of his workforce up and running and working, in the plant's at full operation again, just because he retooled. That's an entrepreneur. Isn't that a great success story?
I love it.
Well, we've been trained to operate in scary times, as we do every day. Let's see. We're gonna do a lightning round here. Naomi, I'm gonna fire some questions to you that are coming across here. We've got a pile of them. Some we've already answered. I'm looking through these now. Let's see.
I can't see into them, Lance. You must be seeing all the questions on your side. I don't see any.
You're not seeing them? All right. Let me just feed them then. How long does it take SBA to determine if one qualifies for the EIDL? Boy, there's a great question. How long are these EIDL processes? Do we know?
Yes. If you go onto their website, they've got a streamlined application, and I mean streamlined. You could probably answer it in 30 seconds. They expect to get back to you within 2 or 3 weeks, but you will have an immediate email notification that they received it with a confirmation number. But don't expect anybody to call you for 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, there you go. Are there minimum credit scores for these loans?
Yes, great question, because before, credit scores were such an integral part of being eligible for any of these SBA loans. From what I understand, and they didn't give me a number, but they are substantially lower than what they used to be. I think that, before we were in the 690 range, 680 range, something like that, maybe even 650 range. So if you're below that, what they're telling me right now is that it's not going to play the biggest part, and they will include that in their evaluation as far as you being able to repay this debt, but it's not going to be a deal killer if you're not there.
All right, here's another one. I'll make you answer this one. So I have commission employees. Will they count in the PPP? I think I heard the answer to that is yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But if they're 1099s, they will not count in the PPP.
Right.
Is that right? Okay. So if they're employed, no matter how they're paid, they count in the PPP. Let's see. A lot of these are the same question. Let's see. They're asking what your costs are. Not enough. I'll tell you right that. Well, not enough. I can, because she's about to get flooded, I imagine. So please do not take advantage. And this lady's got a business to run. So, you know, if you're calling her, please call with the intent to hire her. I mean, this expertise is invaluable right now. I mean, it's literally dynamic. I mean, it's changed since Friday.
Yeah.
I mean, it's changed. There's stuff today that I didn't realize because I'm tracking this stuff.
Can I add this as well, Lance?
Yes, please.
Can I add this? Even if you don't have a question about these loans, I'm still available to do what I was doing before, which is gathering the ability for you to get funding, whether it's conventionally or through SBA. So the doors are still open for that, and please utilize me for that in getting you loans.
That's a great point, because all the other SBA loans are still available. Those are still over there, and you can apply for those right now. Matter of fact, I got a question. If you're going to put up personal guarantee on this EIDL loan, why not just go apply for a regular SBA loan?
Because on the EIDL, you're not going to be required to have collateral from your personal real estate. On a regular SBA loan, you are personally guaranteeing an SBA loan, but if you have collateral, they're going to use it. Yeah. Except there's one state that gets out of that, and that is Texas. In Texas, you cannot. In Texas, you cannot use an individual's primary residence. Now you can use other. It's its own country. But you can use other property that they have and equipment and things like that. So there's other ways to get collateral if it's needed.
Here's another question. We haven't talked about this. This is from Mary. What about nonprofits who employ people? Can they apply for these same programs?
There are provisions for that, and if there is somebody that has a question about a nonprofit, on the PPP side, I'll look it up and get you specifics. On the economic injury disaster loan, nonprofits would be at a 2.75 interest rate.
All right, there you go. That's good. Let's see, we've got, could you please repeat Naomi's website and telephone number? It's right there on the screen, 818-962-8809, Naomi@fundingsense.expert. Expert. Here's a comment for you, Naomi, from Neil. I can tell Naomi is a true expert, extremely knowledgeable and full of great information.
Yay.
Hey, there you go. There you go. There you go.
Doing my best.
Ronald said, "Amazing, Randy, kudos, amazing success story, and the guy who retooled his shop." There you go. Tony said, any non-recourse loans available to buy rentals? So I got a question. For the money that you get under either EIDL or PPP that's not forgiven, are there any restrictions on how you use that money? Can I use it to go buy an apartment building?
Cannot be used to pay off debts. I don't know how deeply they're going to check on these things. If they, this is a huge machine that was turned over, and I don't know what lenders are going to be able to do as far as checking what kind of oversight is going to be done. I don't really know. So the answer is you're not supposed to use it for anything other than what it was intended for, and you are going to be signing a certification that will list the things that you're going to be using it for and that you will not use it for anything else.
That would make sense. But hey, Lance, let me talk a little bit about 401k changes to the 401k, because this could be helpful for those that are interested in real estate. So as most people have heard in the news, you know, you have the ability to withdraw $100,000 as a withdrawal from your retirement plan. You can do without penalty, without paying the 10% penalty, regardless of your age. That's a withdrawal. And they're even going to spread the taxes on that withdrawal out over 3 years. So it's not like, even if you take 100,000 out tomorrow, they're not going to tax you on it in 1 year. They're going to let you spread that out, which would theoretically help you lower the taxes. But on the loan side, this is, I think, even more interesting. So on a 401k loan, we were able, previous to this, we were able to borrow up to 50% or $50,000 of the available assets. The benefit of borrowing, of course, is, again, you avoid the 10% penalty, and because you're borrowing it, there's also zero tax on it because you're going to pay the loan back, right? So you're going to, you know, and I guess the third benefit is the money goes back in and will be able to continue to grow tax deferred. Well, that changed now to where now you can borrow up to $100,000 instead of 50, and 100% of the account value can be borrowed out. So that's a big difference. It's doubling the liquidity you can get through a loan. And keep in mind, when you pay interest on a loan, a 401k loan, that interest is just going back to yourself. So you're not paying a third party for the interest. You're just putting more money back into your retirement account. So we double the amount of money we can get out. We can get 100,000 instead of 50. We can get 100% of our money out, not 50%. And we can avoid taxes, and we can avoid the penalty if we borrow it. So I think those are all really very positive things that are a part of this CARES Act as well.
Hey, Randy, can I add one more thing to that?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are not aware of this. And it's one of the things that we do as well. And it's called rolling over your retirement fund. It's also known as a ROBS transaction. We handle those. And what it is you can actually take your 401k, your retirement, and some IRAs as well, roll it over into a C Corp, but it has to be done by the right organization. But when you roll it over into a C Corp, now that C Corp owns your company, and of course you own that C Corp, which is a retirement company, but it is a C Corp. You can use all of the funds without penalty or interest, and as long as you stay within the legal bounds of, then it's very complicated, but you have to stay within a certain pathway so that you're not taxed or penalized. But you can use those funds. So if you don't borrow them, you can roll over the entire amount if it applies without getting hit for penalties. Some people can't, because their retirement is with their current employer, and most employers may not be able to do that.
Yeah, ROBS is a good topic. It's a complicated process. It's definitely a viable process, but it's complicated. The idea of getting a loan from your 401k is pretty darn simple, right? You just call your custodian and apply for the loan, and boom, you'll have that money right away. So, and again, I'm just encouraging people to consider borrowing money from themselves as opposed to withdrawing it, because you avoid the tax, the penalty, and the interest you pay goes back to yourself. So that's big things, good things.
Love that.
Unbelievable. We came up on an hour again, Lance. How the heck did we do that?
I'm telling you, this is a topic that, you know, you spend days on it, especially when it's moving around like the way it seems to be moving. Naomi, this was spectacular.
Thank you, Naomi. Thank you.
You covered a lot. You covered so much ground, and it's really changing dynamically, and you help a lot of people. So everyone, there's Naomi's contact information. Naomi, Naomi, if you're listening, at fundingsense, like an SENSE.expert.com, fundingsense.expert. Her website is fundingsense.com. Now, you know that's going to confuse everybody, Naomi.
That is, of course. Yeah. It's a test. It's a test.
I just failed. So,
Yeah.
and her phone number, if we just lost you, is 818-962-8809. And get access to Lance and Randy. There's our contact information, our website. And if you want to get my How to Play Bigger course for free, it's a gift. How to Work Your Mindset, go to playbigger.info. Naomi, any final words, or my co-host Randy, any final words of wisdom you wanted to share?
Yeah, if you go to my website, well, two things. If you go to the website, lifetimeparadigm.com, be sure to click on the Financial Independence Toolkit. It's a great toolkit, has a number of financial guides. It's all free. Just need your name and your email address, and everything you'll have access to. And the second thing is, we're recording this webinar. We really want to encourage you to pass this along to your coworkers, your friends, other business owners. This is just, it's good information. I know it's self-serving to say we did a good job, Lance, today, but with Naomi's help, we did a great job covering a pretty difficult and fluid topic that's going to affect millions and millions of people. So please pass this information along. It's good. We're here to help. Naomi's here to help. Lance is here to help. I'm here to help. And that's my message. We're all in it. We're going to make it work.
And we'll send out emails with the replay. Naomi, I'm gonna leave the final word with you. Any final words or wisdom you would share?
As it should be. Let the woman have the final word. Okay, I like this. Doesn't happen in my family, but I'll let it happen here. I like it. All I can say is it is evolving, and anything that we may have said, certainly it's subjective. It can always go back to, we can always refer to a source and find out details for you. But the bottom line is we've got to get through this. Entrepreneurs are making this machine crank beautifully, and we got to keep that wheel going. I think these are wonderful loan programs, and I expect to see more is really what I am expecting for me.
All right. Well, Naomi, thank you so much for your time and for your wisdom. And on behalf of my co-host, Randy Lupke, thank you for joining us on Financial Independence, A Better Perspective. Look for this recording to come out, and look for additional topics, additional shows that will be coming up. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Okay. And that's a wrap.